The smell of butter woke me before the alarm did. It was just after 5 in the morning, still dark outside, the kind of quiet where even the refrigerator hum feels loud. I stood at the stove in my kitchen in Columbus, watching the batter settle into neat circles on the griddle. The coffee machine clicked behind me. The house felt still, ordered. The night before, my husband told me, "You finally need to learn how to act right," and then he hit me. I didn't argue. I didn't shout. I went upstairs, closed the bathroom door, and pressed a cold washcloth against my cheek until the throbbing softened into something steady. By morning, the bruise had turned a deep shade of purple along my cheekbone. I could feel the skin tightening when I blinked. I set the table carefully. 4 plates, cloth napkins, fresh fruit in a glass bowl, bacon arranged in straight lines. It looks like the kind of breakfast you post online. At 6:42 a.m., I checked my phone. 3 messages confirmed. Then I put the phone face down. When Daniel came downstairs, he stretched like he'd had a good night's sleep. He paused at the bottom step and inhaled. "Pancakes," he said, almost pleased. "Good. You finally understood." He walked toward the dining room, already smiling. And then he stopped. His face changed in a way I had never seen before. That's where I'll begin. I'm not someone who reacts quickly. I've always believed in watching first. My name is Marissa Hale. I'm 42 years old. I work as an administrative coordinator at a regional logistics firm downtown. I like systems, lists, order. Daniel and I had been married 15 years. From the outside, we looked steady. We hosted holidays. We kept the yard trimmed. We attended neighborhood cookouts. Inside the house, things had shifted over time. It never begins loudly. It's smaller than that. A comment about how you loaded the dishwasher. A correction about your tone. A reminder about who pays most of the bills. Then one night you burn rice, and the sound of a hand meeting your face is sharper than you imagined it would be. I remember the clock that night. 3:11 a.m. in soft green digits. I remember lying still, feeling heat spread across my cheek. I remember thinking very clearly, this is information, not panic, not tears. Information. When Daniel moved to the guest room after the argument, I listened to the floorboards settle. I waited until the house was quiet again. In the bathroom mirror, the mark was already forming. Not dramatic, just undeniable. I took 6 photos, different angles, no flash. Then I opened a folder I had created 3 months earlier after the first shove. It was labeled House Documents. Inside was a second folder labeled Records. I added the photos there. Then I wrote down the time. Downstairs, before bed, I rinsed the burnt rice pot and left it in the sink. I wanted the kitchen to look ordinary in the morning. Normalcy is powerful. At 5 a.m., I started the coffee. At 5:15, I mixed the batter. At 5:30, I sent 3 short texts, one to my older sister, Angela. It happened again. "Please come by at 6:45, bring Tom." One to a local attorney whose card I'd kept in my wallet for a year, and one to the non-emergency police line. I kept it simple. "I'd like officers present for a domestic incident report. He's still in the house." My voice sounded steady, even to me. By 6:30, the sky outside had turned pale gray. The maple tree in our front yard moved gently in the wind. The table was ready. I adjusted the napkins one last time. Then I waited. I could hear Daniel moving upstairs around 6:40. The shower turned on. Pipes knocked inside the walls. A drawer slid open, then shut. It was an ordinary weekday rhythm, the same sounds I'd heard for years. Only this time, I wasn't guessing what would happen next. At 6:45, a car door closed outside. Then another. I didn't rush to the window. I already knew who it was. Daniel came down the stairs adjusting his watch. He looked rested, calm. When he stepped into the dining room and saw the full spread, he gave a small nod, like he was approving something. "See," he said. "We're fine when you don't push things." I didn't respond. He pulled out his chair. That's when the doorbell rang. It wasn't loud. Just one clean press. Daniel frowned. "Who's here this early?" I walked past him and opened the door. Two uniformed officers stood on the porch. Behind them was my sister Angela in a navy coat, jaw tight. Her husband stood slightly behind her, hands in his pockets, eyes focused. "Morning, ma'am," the taller officer said. "We're here about the call." I stepped aside. "Yes, please come in." Daniel's chair scraped hard against the floor. "What is this?" he asked. The officers entered calmly. No raised voices, no rushing, just presence. Angela walked in last and stopped when she saw my face. Her expression didn't explode the way people imagine it might. It simply sharpened, like something confirming. Daniel looked from them to me. "This is ridiculous," he said lightly. "We had a disagreement." The shorter officer spoke in an even tone. "Sir, we're just here to document and make sure everyone's safe." Safe. The word landed differently in that room. I stayed standing near the edge of the table. I didn't sit. The taller officer asked me quietly, "Are you injured?" "Yes," I said. I turned slightly so the light from the window hit my cheek. The bruise was clear in the morning sun. No exaggeration, just visible. Angela stepped forward instinctively, then stopped herself. Tom put a hand lightly on her shoulder. The officer asked a few standard questions. Time, location. Was there anyone else present? Has this happened before? I answered each one the same way I answer questions at work, directly, without commentary. Daniel tried to interrupt twice. It wasn't like that. "She's overreacting." The officer lifted one hand gently toward him. "Sir, we'll give you a chance to speak." Then he turned back to me. I noticed something small. Daniel wasn't looking at my face anymore. He was looking at the officer's notepads. That's when I understood something clearly. This wasn't about emotion anymore. It was about record. The taller officer asked, "Do you wish to press charges?" There was a long pause in the room. Even the coffee machine had stopped humming. I thought in steps. Step 1, ensure safety. Step 2, establish documentation. Step 3, prevent escalation. "Yes," I said. Daniel let out a sharp laugh. "You can't be serious." But I was. The officers asked him to step aside. His voice rose slightly, then fell when he saw they weren't reacting. Angela moved closer to me but didn't touch me. She knows I don't like being handled when I'm steadying myself. The officers informed Daniel they would need to escort him to the station for formal processing. Not aggressive, just procedure. He looked at the table again, at the pancakes, at the bacon cooling in straight lines. "After all this," he said quietly to me, "you're doing this over one mistake?" I met his eyes. "This isn't about breakfast," I said. I didn't raise my voice. The officers guided him toward the door. He resisted only in posture, not movement. That kind of controlled anger that looks almost polite. As the front door closed behind them, the house felt larger. Angela exhaled for the first time. Tom walked into the kitchen and turned off the stove, though nothing was on. I sat down finally. I folded one napkin slowly. Then I looked at Angela and said, "We're going to need to change the locks." She nodded once. Outside, the patrol car pulled away, and I picked up my phone. There were already 3 new messages waiting. I didn't open them yet. I just looked at the screen. Then I waited. I opened the messages one at a time. The first was from Daniel. "You're making a mistake." The second came 30 seconds later. "Call them back. We can fix this." The third was longer. "If you do this, don't expect things to stay easy for you." I screenshot all 3. I forwarded them to the attorney whose card I'd kept for a year. Her name was Linda Park. I had met her briefly at a community seminar on estate planning. I remembered she handled family law too. I typed one sentence. "This is the documentation we discussed hypothetically." Then I put the phone face down. Angela sat across from me at the table. She hadn't touched the food either. "Have you been planning this?" she asked quietly. "Yes." Not dramatically, just honestly. 3 months earlier, after the first time Daniel shoved me against the pantry door, I had started building a file. I didn't confront him then. I didn't threaten. I didn't cry in front of him. I opened a new checking account at a different bank branch across town. I changed my direct deposit at work. I requested copies of the mortgage paperwork and scanned them into a cloud folder. I photographed small things: a dent in the drywall, a cracked plate, the way he blocked the doorway during arguments. None of it looked urgent by itself, but patterns rarely do. Angela leaned back slowly. "You've been doing this alone." "Yes," I said. "Until today." Tom stood and walked to the hallway closet. He pulled out Daniel's spare key ring. "We should collect everything," he said. I nodded. Step 1, secure access. Step 2, preserve records. Step 3, eliminate uncertainty. I moved through the house calmly. I opened the small safe in the office and removed my passport, birth certificate, and the flash drive labeled Tax Archive. That wasn't what was on it anymore. I handed the drive to Angela. "Keep this at your house," I said. She didn't ask what was on it. She just put it in her coat pocket. By 9:15 a.m., the locksmith arrived. I had called him at 6:52. He worked quietly, metal clicking against metal. The sound felt final, but not loud. While he worked, my phone rang. It was Linda. "I've reviewed what you sent," she said. Her voice was measured. "You did the right thing calling early." I stood by the kitchen window while she spoke. "We'll file for a temporary protective order this afternoon. I'll need your timeline in writing. Include dates, approximate times, and any witnesses." "I already have one," I said. There was a pause on her end. "Email it to me," she replied. I hung up and walked to the office. The document was saved as maintenance log. I opened it. It wasn't emotional. It wasn't dramatic. It was structured: date, incident, action taken, evidence stored. I updated last night's entry. Time, 9:38 p.m. Event, physical strike, left cheek. Evidence, 6 photographs, time-stamped 3:14-3:18 a.m., stored cloud plus external drive. Witnesses, none. Medical follow-up, urgent care scheduled. I pressed send. That was the moment something shifted. Not anger, not relief, clarity. Around noon, Daniel's brother called. I let it ring once, then answered. "Marissa, what are you doing?" he asked immediately. I didn't argue. "I'm following procedure," I said. "It was one fight. It was documented." Silence. He lowered his voice. "You don't have to ruin his life." "I'm not ruining anything," I said calmly. "I'm protecting mine." I ended the call without raising my tone. Angela watched me carefully. "You're different," she said. "No," I replied. "I'm organized." At 2:30 p.m., I drove to urgent care. The waiting room smelled faintly of disinfectant and coffee. A daytime talk show played on mute in the corner. When the nurse asked what happened, I answered clearly. "My husband struck me last night." No softening, no alternate phrasing. They took photographs. The doctor noted mild swelling and possible hairline fracture risk. Recommended imaging. Each click of the camera felt like another brick in a wall. By evening, I had a case number, a medical report, a locksmith receipt, a printed timeline, screenshots backed up twice. Daniel called once more from an unknown number. I didn't answer. I added it to the log. At 7:12 p.m., Linda emailed confirmation. Temporary order filed. Court appearance scheduled Thursday morning. I read it twice. Angela heated leftover pancakes in the microwave. The smell didn't bother me anymore. We ate at the kitchen table quietly. The house felt unfamiliar, not empty, just rearranged. When I went to bed that night, I didn't sleep in the master bedroom. I chose the guest room instead. The sheets were cooler there. Neutral. I placed my phone on the nightstand, and I waited. I woke up at 3:17 a.m., not from fear, just habit. The house was quiet. Angela was asleep in the master bedroom with the door locked. Tom had left earlier that evening after installing 2 motion lights near the driveway. I stayed still for a moment and listened. Refrigerator hum, heating system clicking on, wind against the siding. Nothing else. I reached for my phone and checked the security app. Both cameras were online, front porch clear, backyard still. Then I opened my notes app. I added a heading, next 14 days. Step 1, attend court. Step 2, separate finances completely. Step 3, inventory assets. Step 4, no direct contact. Writing it down kept my thoughts linear. By morning, the sky was pale and steady. I brewed coffee and reviewed my printed documents at the dining table where the pancakes had been 2 days earlier. Bank statements highlighted. Mortgage balance circled. Insurance policies flagged. I wasn't trying to win. I was trying to stabilize. At 8:42 a.m., Linda called. "Daniel has retained counsel," she said. "They're asking for mediation before the hearing." "No," I replied. There was no pause this time. "I'll note that," she said. After we hung up, I typed a single line into my log. Opposing counsel request for informal resolution. Declined. I wasn't angry. I just understood the pattern. Reduce, minimize, negotiate privately. That phase was over. Around noon, I received an email from Daniel's work account. Subject line, "Please." I opened it once. It was 3 paragraphs. Apologies, stress at work, counseling promises, a mention of how neighbors would talk. I saved it as PDF, forwarded it to Linda, logged it. Then I blocked the address. At 3:15 p.m., the doorbell rang. I checked the camera first. Daniel's cousin, Mark, stood on the porch, shifting his weight from one foot to the other. I didn't open the door fully, just enough to speak through the security chain. "What do you need?" I asked. He rubbed the back of his neck. "He's scared, Marissa. You didn't have to call the cops." "Yes," I said calmly. "I did." He says it was mutual. It wasn't. Mark looked past me into the house like he expected to see Daniel sitting somewhere. "You're really going through with this?" "Yes." There was nothing else to discuss. He left without arguing. I wrote down the time of the visit. That evening, I changed the Wi-Fi password. Not because I thought Daniel would hack anything, because access is symbolic. At 6 p.m., Angela and I walked through the house with a notebook. Living room, couch, 2 chairs, media console. Kitchen, appliances, dishware set of 12. Office, desktop computer, filing cabinet. Garage, tools, storage bins. I photographed each room slowly, not for drama, for clarity. Angela stopped at the hallway. "Do you ever think about just letting it go?" she asked gently. I shook my head. Letting it go would mean repeating it. She nodded once. Later that night, I sat alone at the table. The house felt different, not heavy, just aware. My phone buzzed again from an unknown number. "You think paperwork will save you?" I didn't respond. I screenshot it, forwarded it, logged it. Silence isn't weakness. It's structure. Thursday morning came cold and bright. I wore a navy blazer and low heels, hair pulled back, no makeup beyond concealer near the bruise. Angela drove. The courthouse lobby smelled faintly of polish and paper. Daniel was already there when we arrived. He looked tired, not defeated, just unsettled. He tried to catch my eye. I looked past him. Linda met us near the elevator. She carried a slim folder, not thick, not dramatic. "Everything's straightforward," she said quietly. "Stick to facts." "I will," I replied. Inside the courtroom, the judge reviewed the temporary order request. Linda presented the timeline, the medical report, the messages, no speeches, no accusations. Daniel's attorney suggested counseling and reconciliation. The judge glanced at the photographs. "Temporary protective order granted," she said evenly. "No contact, no third-party communication. Residence awarded to petitioner pending further proceedings." Her gavel was light, not theatrical. Daniel's shoulders dropped slightly. I didn't look at him. Outside the courtroom, he spoke once. "You're really doing this?" I stopped. "Yes," I said. No anger, no shaking voice, just confirmation. Then I walked toward the exit. The air outside felt colder than I expected, but it felt clear, and for the first time in a long while, I knew exactly what came next. Then I waited. The first real confrontation didn't happen in the courtroom. It happened 2 weeks later in a conference room with beige walls and a long laminate table. Mediation had been ordered despite my objection. "Standard procedure," Linda explained. "The court prefers structured attempts before trial. I agreed to attend under one condition: no direct interaction. We would sit in separate rooms." Daniel arrived early, according to the receptionist. I saw his reflection briefly in the glass panel near the hallway. He looked thinner, not dramatically, just unsettled. I felt steady. Linda reviewed our folder once more before we began. "Remember," she said quietly, "we're not here to argue. We're here to present position." I nodded. The mediator, a retired judge named Harold Benton, explained the process calmly. Shuttle negotiation, offers passed back and forth, no raised voices, professional. Daniel's initial proposal arrived on a printed sheet. He requested shared occupancy of the house until divorce finalization, suggested counseling again, requested that I withdraw the criminal complaint in exchange for mutual discretion. Linda slid the paper toward me. I read it once. Then I wrote 3 bullet points on my legal pad. Residence remains exclusively mine. Criminal matter proceeds independently. Financial separation effective immediately. No commentary. Linda passed the counteroffer. An hour later, Daniel requested a brief face-to-face exchange with mediator present. Linda looked at me. I thought for a moment. Controlled setting, neutral room, witness present. "Yes," I said. We moved into the larger conference room. The mediator sat between us. Daniel didn't look angry this time. He looked frustrated. "You're acting like I'm a criminal," he said. The mediator lifted a hand slightly. "Let's stay focused." I folded my hands on the table. "There is an open case," I replied evenly. "This is a legal process. You know I didn't mean it like that." "It happened." Silence. He leaned back. "You could have talked to me." "I tried," I said. No elaboration. The mediator asked if either party wished to amend their position. I didn't. Daniel's jaw tightened. "You're going to lose everything over this," he said quietly. I looked directly at him for the first time since the arrest. "I'm not losing anything," I said. "I'm organizing it." The mediator ended the session 30 minutes later. No agreement. Outside, Linda exhaled slowly. "That went as expected," she said. "Yes," I replied. That night at 9:26 p.m., the motion lights in the driveway flicked on. I checked the camera. A brick lay near the front steps. It wasn't thrown through a window, just placed there. On top of it was a folded piece of paper. Angela was staying over again that evening. She stood behind me as I opened the front door carefully. The paper read, "We could have handled this privately." No signature. I photographed it before touching anything else. Called the non-emergency line. Logged the time. Officer Martinez arrived within 20 minutes. Different from the first officers. Younger, observant. He examined the brick and paper. "Any recent contact?" he asked. "Yes," I said. I handed him printed screenshots. He nodded. "We'll add it to the file." No dramatics, just process. The following morning, Linda filed a motion to include intimidation evidence in the protective order review. Daniel denied involvement through his attorney. The brick had no fingerprints, but timing matters. 2 days later, Daniel violated the order directly. A voicemail. He didn't realize calls still register even if blocked. His voice was low, not yelling. "You think this ends well for you?" I saved the file, forwarded it, logged it, violation documented. By the end of that week, bail conditions were revisited. The judge did not look pleased when the updated record was presented. Protective perimeter extended. Electronic monitoring ordered. No debate. Daniel's face changed slightly when he heard that. Not rage, realization. The system was no longer abstract. It was active. When I returned home that evening, I cleaned the kitchen counters slowly. Not because they were dirty, because order feels grounding. Angela sat at the table watching me. "You're calm," she said. "I'm consistent," I replied. There's a difference. The house no longer felt uncertain. It felt procedural. And the next hearing was already scheduled. Then I waited. The final hearing was scheduled 6 weeks after the mediation failed. By then, the record was thick, not emotional, not exaggerated, just documented. Medical report, photographs, threatening messages, the brick incident, the voicemail violation, electronic monitoring logs showing Daniel had driven past the edge of the 500-foot boundary twice in 1 week, each piece small on its own, together, consistent. The morning of the hearing, I woke before the alarm. 4:58 a.m. I made coffee, no pancakes this time, just toast. The house was quiet in a way that felt earned. I reviewed my impact statement once more at the dining table. It wasn't dramatic. It was structured in sections: timeline, effects on work, medical impact, financial separation, requested outcomes, no insults, no adjectives. Angela drove me again. She didn't say much. She didn't need to. In the courtroom, Daniel looked different from the last appearance. An ankle monitor beneath his pant leg, shoulders slightly curved inward. His attorney spoke first. Counseling enrollment, stress factors, request for leniency. Then Linda stood. She didn't raise her voice. She laid out the chronology, date by date, message by message, violation by violation. When she played the voicemail in court, the room was still. Daniel's voice sounded smaller through speakers than it had in my kitchen weeks earlier. The judge took notes steadily. Then I was called to speak. I stood, hands resting lightly on the podium. I didn't look at Daniel. "I am not here for punishment," I said evenly. "I am here for protection and finality." I explained how documentation began months before the incident in question, how access had been restricted, how violations occurred despite formal warning, how the house mortgage was in both names, but my income covered 68% of payments over the last 3 years. I had the bank statements to support that. I placed copies on the evidence table. Numbers are persuasive. The judge asked one question: "Do you feel safe if this order is not made permanent?" "No," I said. Simple. Daniel was given the chance to respond. He apologized again, said he was under pressure, said he never meant for things to escalate. The judge listened. Then she looked at the monitoring report. "Intent is less relevant than pattern," she said calmly. Her ruling was clear. Permanent protective order. No contact, direct or indirect. Exclusive residence awarded to me. Criminal conviction entered for misdemeanor assault and violation of protective terms. Mandatory completion of a certified intervention program. Probation monitored. No firearm access. The gavel fell once. Not loud. Final. Daniel didn't argue. He looked at the floor as the bailiff directed him toward the side door. I didn't watch him leave. Outside the courthouse, the air felt cold and bright again. Angela squeezed my hand briefly. Linda handed me a copy of the signed order. "Keep this with you," she said. I folded it carefully and placed it inside my bag. That afternoon, I went to the bank, removed his name from the joint account officially, closed it, opened a new savings account under mine alone. Then I stopped at the hardware store and purchased fresh house numbers. Not because I needed them. Because I wanted to replace something visible. That evening, I stood in the driveway with a screwdriver and removed the old metal numbers one by one. The screws came out easily. I installed the new set slowly, straight, even spacing. When I stepped back, the house looked the same, but it wasn't. Inside, I brewed tea. I sat at the kitchen table where the pancakes once cooled untouched. The room smelled like chamomile and clean counters. My phone buzzed once. Unknown number. I didn't open it. I handed the phone to Angela instead. She read it. Then she nodded. "He's been transferred to probation processing," she said. "Procedure." I leaned back in my chair. For the first time in months, I wasn't waiting for the next step. There wasn't one. And the house was quiet. A few weeks after everything was finalized, I repainted the dining room. It wasn't dramatic, just a soft gray instead of the darker shade Daniel preferred. I moved the table closer to the window, let more light in. On a Saturday morning, I made pancakes again, not for an audience, not for strategy, just because I wanted to. The smell didn't make me flinch this time. It felt neutral, almost ordinary. Angela came over with fresh blueberries. Tom fixed the loose hinge on the pantry door. We ate slowly. No tension at the table. No careful listening for footsteps upstairs. After they left, I washed the dishes by hand. Warm water, lemon soap, sunlight hitting the counter at an angle that made the surface shine. I opened the cabinet above the refrigerator and removed the old rice pot. The one from that night. I held it for a moment, then placed it in a donation box with other things I didn't need anymore. Not everything has to be thrown away. Some things just don't belong in your daily space. Work settled too. I adjusted my direct deposit, updated emergency contact forms, met with HR to confirm documentation for leave taken during court dates, systems. Everything had a place again. About 3 months later, a woman from my office knocked on my door one evening. Her name was Carla, early 30s, quiet, efficient, the kind of person who never stays late unless she has to. She stood on my porch holding her phone tightly. "I heard what happened," she said. "I didn't know who else to talk to." I stepped aside and let her in. We sat at the same table. No pancakes this time, just tea. She spoke slowly, hesitant, similar phrases, similar patterns. I didn't interrupt. When she finished, I didn't give a speech. I gave her a legal aid number, the name of my attorney, a printed checklist I had saved from my own folder titled Preparation. Step 1, document. Step 2, secure access. Step 3, build support. Silence is not surrender. Structure is not cruelty. It's protection. After she left, I stood by the kitchen window for a while. The neighborhood looked the same as always. Kids riding bikes, someone mowing their lawn, porch lights coming on one by one as the sun dipped lower. Ordinary life. That's all I wanted. I put the phone face down on the counter. Then I started batter again. Because routine, when it's chosen, feels different. If you stayed with me through this story, thank you. If you believe in calm strength and quiet decisions, consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Tell me in the comments which city you're watching from and what time it is there right now. I always read them. And if this story felt familiar, there are 2 others on your screen now about quiet moments that changed everything. Sometimes the strongest move isn't loud, it's documented.